Oh, hey everyone, Justin here. This is gonna be a long road trip across the US. We're only in Texas, and our car already broke down. Hopefully this garage fixes it quick, because we need to get to California to meet up with Dr. Atlas. But I will say though, Texas has been pretty interesting. I've noticed so many things here that are different from where I'm from. People keep referring to us as y'all, the radio's only playing country music, and everyone's wearing cowboy hats. Do you think California will be like this? This makes me think of our next theme of geography, region. Region is a lens geographers use to group areas of the world that share common characteristics. These groupings make it easier to compare and contrast people and environments across our giant planet in a more organized way. While we wait for our car to be fixed, let's delve deeper into this theme. We'll explore 3 different types of regions today: formal, perceptual, and functional. Let's get into it. California and Texas have many different characteristics, but they're actually in the same formal region, the United States. Formal regions are areas with consistent human or physical characteristics that are defined by clear, recognizable boundaries. So get this, Texas and California are also their own separate formal regions, and within them, there are many smaller formal regions too. Houston, Texas, for example, is a formal region. The US is a country, Texas is a state, and Houston is a city. What could be the consistent characteristic within these areas that makes each of them a formal region? Well, each region has its own distinct government, and they're defined by clear boundaries called political borders, which are official lines that separate areas controlled by different governments. The United States has its own borders and government, making it a formal region. And even though Texas follows US laws, it has its own state government and borders. And Houston has its own city government and borders. In these examples, government is the consistent human characteristic that makes each area a formal region. But we've learned about a lot of other kinds of human characteristics, like religion, language, history, and more. These can also be used to classify formal regions. For example, we can organize our world into formal regions based on the distribution of major religions. Parts of the world where Islam is the major religion, for example, is a formal region. In each of these regions, the consistent human characteristic is religion. Now let's talk about formal regions defined by physical characteristics. On this road trip, I'll be driving through the Chihuahuan Desert. In this formal region, the consistent, identifiable characteristic is its natural desert features, and the region's defined by a recognizable boundary based on where those desert features begin and end. And how about another example? The Amazon rainforest. What do you think makes a rainforest a formal region? The Amazon rainforest has consistent physical characteristics like vegetation and wildlife, and its boundaries are clearly recognizable. So it's definitely a formal region. The thing all formal regions have in common is that they are clearly defined and recognized, have consistent physical or human characteristics, and have boundaries that are agreed upon by everyone. No one really argues about where the Amazon rainforest is or where Texas's borders are, for example. Our next type of region, though, is just the opposite. Now let's talk about perceptual regions. Unlike formal regions, perceptual regions don't have clear boundaries. They're defined by people's feelings and opinions about similar human and physical characteristics in an area. The area considered a perceptual region can vary greatly depending on who you ask. For example, regions in the US like the South, the North, and the Midwest are all perceptual regions. They're not officially marked on maps, but people have a common understanding of where they are based on similarities in each region. For instance, what comes to mind when you hear the Northeast? Maybe you think of lobster, lighthouses, autumn leaves, or even historical events like the Boston Tea Party. The physical and human characteristics of the Northeast influence people's opinions of what states are included in it. Some people consider Maryland to be part of the Northeast, while some might argue it's part of the South. Since there are no defined boundaries for these perceptual regions, there's really no right answer to what's included in them. Perceptual regions aren't just in the US, though. Let's look at another example, and as we do, think about what makes it a perceptual region. In Northern Europe, there's a region called Scandinavia. Scandinavian countries like Sweden, Norway, and Denmark share similar languages, traditions, and climates. Finland and Iceland are sometimes grouped into Scandinavia. However, they're often considered separate because they have different languages. What makes Scandinavia a perceptual region rather than a formal one? There isn't an agreed upon Scandinavian boundary, and it isn't always defined in the same way, so it's a perceptual region. By studying perceptual regions, we gain insights into how different people perceive and categorize parts of the world. This helps us understand cultural identities, economic trends, and social dynamics. So think about where you live. What perceptual region do you think your area belongs to? What are the human or physical characteristics that define it? We've got one more type of region to explore: functional regions. Unlike formal regions, which have clear boundaries, and perceptual regions, which are based on people's perspectives, functional regions are all about connectivity and interactions. These regions are defined by a specific function or activity that occurs within them. They're centered around a key point called a node and include surrounding areas connected to this node. One common example of a functional region is the New York metropolitan area. New York City is the node here, and the surrounding areas, including parts of New Jersey, Connecticut, and even Pennsylvania, are part of this functional region. People living in the surrounding areas often travel to New York City for work, shopping, and entertainment. Public transportation systems link these areas to the city, creating a web of connections centered around the node. Here's another example of a functional region for you: a pizza delivery zone. What do you think the node would be in this example? The node of a pizza delivery zone would be the restaurant that makes, sells, and distributes the pizza. And the functional region surrounding this node includes all the people that receive their pizza deliveries. It's not just about the restaurant, but how that restaurant functions and serves the area around it. All right, I have a challenge for you. Functional regions are all about connections, right? So, functional regions also exist on the internet. The internet has many nodes that connect people to many different economic, social, and even political activities. Can you think of any functional regions that exist online? How about online shopping? Websites like Amazon and eBay can be considered nodes that facilitate the flow of goods and services, linking sellers and buyers across the world. Or how about social media? Platforms like Facebook or Instagram serve as nodes connecting people across the globe through the exchange of ideas, information, and entertainment. You probably never realized it, but you are a part of so many functional regions. By studying these regions, we gain insights into how places are linked and how human activities shape and depend on the areas they live in. Well, me and I haven't gotten very far across the US yet, but we are getting pretty far into our study of the 5 themes of geography. We can check region off our list. By learning about the different types of regions today, we're able to see the world in a more organized and insightful way. From Houston to your local pizza delivery zone, each type of region provides a unique perspective on the world around us. All right, we've got to get back on the road to California. I wonder which theme of geography we'll encounter once we're there. We'll see you in the Golden State. Until then, keep exploring. See you next time.
Hey!